Following on from the last video where I concentrated on rum, in this video I'm going to be focusing on vodka. And I'm going to be showing you 3 vodka cocktails that I think you should be putting on your menus in 2025 and your cocktail menus to make more money. Now remember my whole ethos. This is not about showing you how to make those classic cocktails to the classic specs. This is me doing what I love to do, and that's taking those classic recipes and putting your own little riffs and twists on them to make you and your bar stand out from your competition. I don't really believe in reinventing the wheel and coming up with your own cocktails. I do think there is a place for that on every single cocktail menu, but I know your big cash drivers are going to be those familiar cocktails that people know, that people recognize instantly when they see them on the menu. But if they have little subtle tweaks to them, people will get curious and inquisitive and start to order, and they will be your big sellers. So the 3 cocktails that I'm going to focus on today, I'm going to look at the Lemon Drop, and I'm going to take that in a different direction. We're going to look at the Cosmopolitan and take that in a slightly different direction. And then I'm going to kind of be looking at the Collins, technically called for vodka, technically called the Joe Collins, as far as I understand it. Not many bars would actually call it a Collins on their cocktail menu. It's a very simple recipe, but it is what I call a blueprint, like a base kind of formula to take cocktails in a kind of, use different flavors to take it in a different direction. And I think whenever I put a cocktail like this on a menu, probably call it a different name, it just flies out. And then while making these cocktails, the other thing I'm going to give you is the prices as well, because a lot of people actually, you know, when I do the training that I do with certain level of pubs and bars, they don't really get granular with actually how much cocktails cost. They just put a cocktail on the menu, don't give a thought about how much it's cost them making them, and will just kind of run with it. But I like to show you prices. I use kind of generic trade pricing. A lot of bars will have even cheaper pricing than what I will give you. I'm just giving you the base level below sort of mass market, but sort of the upper end of the trade. That's what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to show you how cheap these cocktails are to actually make, and then you will start to realize that cash margins, actually there is a lot more money to be made with spirits, with simple highballs and spirit and mixers, with cocktails, than there ever is with beer and wine. Now when it comes to vodka brands, this is kind of a weird sort of territory for me. I do really like vodka. I love neat vodka. I have neat vodka in the fridge, and I will happily drink that. When it comes to bars and cocktail menus, for instance, I love brands like this, Dutch Barn. It's, you know, Ricky Gervais part owns it. Ricky Gervais, the comedian, it's distilled from apples. It's not an apple flavored vodka. It's very much a neutral vodka, but you do get those apples, that apple sort of undertone come through it. And I do love to use sort of premium vodkas. I think the better the vodkas, the better the cocktails. However, when we are talking about cocktails and mass market, do you know what? Sometimes it's a little bit of a contradiction. Do you know what? Sometimes like brands like Absolut just absolutely smash it. They are so easy for every single pub and bar to get. Finlandia might be another brand as well. Sky, Stolly. They've all got various different flavoured vodkas, which does help you stand out on a cocktail menu for that. So while I'm all about, you know what, premium vodkas taste so much better than your cheaper vodkas, on a sort of, when it comes to those classic cocktails like a martini, for example, I do think when it comes to fun cocktails, disco cocktails, if you like them, or modern contemporary classic cocktails, I do think sometimes going down a route like this, another one would be JJ Whitley, for instance, I do think going down a route like this will actually do you better service in the long run. A, because they're cheaper, B, because they taste great, C, because people recognise them when you've got behind the bar. They just work. Now let's dive into the first vodka cocktail that I'm going to riff up, and as I mentioned at the top, we're going for the Lemon Drop Martini. Now, I would sort of interpret the Lemon Drop as the vodka daiquiri. Really, really simple to make. Vodka, lemon juice, sugar. You know, sometimes I've seen it with limoncello added in. There's nothing wrong with that. That makes a great alternative. I'm all about that. You know, but it is, you know, it's a very simple cocktail. But the thing with daiquiris as well, when they're made properly, they are just absolutely, you know, exquisite cocktails. People love them. They do get served up quite short, and I think that's what customers get put off by sometimes, you know, the very small cocktails, but taste-wise, you just can't argue with it. They taste incredible. So I'm going to take the lemon drop and I'm going to take it in a slightly different direction with mango and honey. So we're not technically calling it a lemon drop anymore, but it is very much very similar. We've just got one different ingredient coming. Well, an extra ingredient, I should say. So to start this off, obviously the lemon drop, as I mentioned, lemon, vodka, lemon juice, and sugar syrup. So to start this off, instead of plain vodka, instead of maybe sometimes even Absolute Citron or something like that in the lemon drop, I'm going to get the mango flavours from the vodka, and I'm going to use Absolute Mango here. That's just going to work very well. I will say, ever since Absolute have dropped their ABVs down to 38% from 40, slightly touch more sugar's been added to them. I do actually think they work better in cocktails. I wasn't a huge fan of some of these at the 40%. But now they've actually made them slightly weaker and slightly sweeter. They really do pop with flavour, which is what you want when you're making fun cocktails. So Absolute Mango is going to be the base of this. Obviously, we're going to be using lemon juice and some sugar syrup in there as well. Again, as I mentioned in the previous video, I do flipping love. I've got the lime here ready to go as well for another cocktail. I do flipping love this. I do believe in 100% squeezed lemon juice pre-poured and pre-squeezed, because bars, it saves you so much time. It is cheaper. This is about half the price of juicing fresh lemons and fresh limes. And as I say, whenever I do this in blind tastings, no bartender has ever picked this against fresh lime. Or sorry, has picked the fresh lime out. They always, 9 times out of 10, pick these as their favourite when it's in a mixed drink. They just taste really, really good. Some brands are better than others, but don't make this mistake. These are 100% juiced. You could arguably not call them fresh because they are in bottles, which make them long life and shelf stable. There's no nasties added to it. It's not like Jif lemon or anything like that. They're just 100% lemon juice, okay, and lime juice. So we're going down that route. And as I mentioned, we're taking this in a honey direction as well. So there are various ways you could do this, but as I rocked this out recently, I've got a bottle, honey liqueur. This is a tequila, yes. You could go honey syrup. You know, you could actually go mango syrup as well. There's various ways that you could do this, but honey and mango work very, very well. So just to kind of take this in a different direction and thinking about how the wording looks on your cocktail menu, I am going to use a honey tequila because I think people's eyes will pop at that and go, ooh, what's that? And that will make the sale for you. So shaken cocktail, we're going for a 50ml double bubble of your vodka, 15ml, 1/5 of your honey tequila, 25ml of lemon juice. Then the sugar is always adjust to taste. Remember, you have to take into account what other ingredients you've got there. I've got that honey tequila, which is quite sweet. It's not a 40%, it's a 34% liqueur. It's got a lovely honey sweetness to it. So you don't want a whole shot of this or even 15ml of this. So sugar for this, I'm actually gonna go 7.5ml. Then just to garnish, I don't think you need to go too complicated with this at all. I've just got a dried, dehydrated lemon from Frona. We'll just pop on the top there. That is absolutely fantastic. So well balanced. Bearing in mind, I do love my daiquiris anyway, rum, lime, sugar. And you've got vodka, lemon, sugar there. The mango is not super sweet, but it's there. It's fantastic. It's just there, and that really gives that a tropical vibe. The honey, the main reason why I went for a honey liqueur and not a honey syrup is because sometimes when you use flavoured syrups, you get this cloying sort of sweetness to it. And I just wanted this fresh sweetness to it, which liqueur will kind of give you. You don't really get tequila from that. You just get the very subtle honey. Honey and mango goes very, very well together. That is a very elegant, but, you know, quaffable martini. It's just absolutely delicious. Yes, you could serve this in double old-fashioned glass with a cube of ice. You could even turn this into like a mango drop sour, if you like, and kind of put some foamers in there, or some egg white, or some aquafaba, and give it that lovely velvety consistency. It's the same cocktail, you're just adding that. I wouldn't probably go Angostura bitters, but it'll give you free reign to put some other bitters in there. You know, there are plenty of bitters to choose from. But that base recipe, honestly, that is crushable. I like that word. Gets used quite a lot with London bartenders at the moment. I've spent a few days down in London recently. Crushable is the big word on the street. This is definitely crushable. 100% deserves to go on your cocktail menus. Now, before we move on to cocktail 2, as I did say, I do like to talk about prices and how much this will cost you. And remember, I do emphasize this all the time. This is top level trade prices. If you buy a lot and you've got a great relationship with your supplier, it's going to be even cheaper. All right. So I'm going top level trade prices, like level 1, category A, wherever you are. Okay. So £1.45-ish for the mango vodka. All right. 53p for the honey liqueur. Yes, you could argue that's a little bit expensive, but that makes the cocktail. And wait for the cost of this coming in, you know. And then you've got roughly sort of about 32, 35p for the lemon juice and the sugar. And then we've got the garnish in there, ice, you know, any little extra bits, maybe a straw. I always sort of add in circa 25p for all that sort of stuff. Probably over the top, you know, but that's kind of what I use. £2.57. £2.57, that has just cost me to make that. That is an absolute bargain, a really good bargain. It is one of those, yes, I appreciate. Sometimes I do sort of say you could sell this for £10 and £12, and I do forget that I am close to a town and a big city, and big cities like Cambridge easily £12 on a cocktail menu, easily. Perhaps out in the villages, in the smaller towns, you are probably talking about £8 to £9. But with the prices and everyone kind of expecting, especially if you use decent brands, I think you can get away with £10. Even out in the sticks, I think you can get away with £10, which gives you a relative margin of circa £7.50 profit. Now, recipe 2 that I mentioned at the top is the Collins. For vodka, you would technically call it a Joe Collins, but you will never ever see Joe Collins written on the menu. Heck, even when it's made with gin, you'll very rarely ever see Tom Collins or a Gin Collins written on the menu. It's one of those, as I say, it's the base kind of formula, the base recipe that bartenders just love to riff up, including me. It is one of my favourite cocktails because it's just made up of 4 components. In this case, we're going vodka. In a lot of cases, you would go gin, but vodka does deserve to go on a cocktail menu because gin still has some haters. You know, there are still those fractions of people that, even though gin is just a flavoured vodka with juniper, but it is just essentially a flavoured vodka, people will still be put off ordering gin cocktails if they don't like gin, whereas vodka is pretty neutral. It's inoffensive. So you've got your base spirit, which would be gin, vodka. You've got your lemon juice, you've got your sugar, and then the soda water. But this is where people lack kind of inspiration a lot of the time, because soda waters don't have to be just plain soda water off the gun. You know, even I don't like soda water. I'm not a huge fan of drinking soda water or fizzy water. I call it Alka-Seltzer because it tastes quite sort of salty, saline-y, and I'm not a huge fan. However, in this day and age, let's be brutally honest, most tonic waters have a very low amount of quinine in them. So when you're talking about flavoured tonic waters, you know, they kind of class as a soda water. But actually, I do love working with Franklin's & Sons. We've got a whole range. You know, there's a discount code in my description for Franklin's & Sons off your first order from Good Timing. But they do have 3 sodas which work extremely well. One of my favourite ones is the guava and lime soda. They've also got the mandarin and ginger. And then we've got this one, which we're going to be using today. This is the pineapple and almond. So what we're going to be technically making is like a tropical Collins. Now, as I've got the mango vodka here, I'm going to stick with that. I was thinking about buying a bottle of raspberry vodka to use in this. I think that would be quite good. You could even use plain vodka. There's nothing wrong with this, but I want to go fun, fruity, lots of tropical flavours. So I've got the mango vodka here. Passion fruit vodka would be another one. You know, it's just the blueprint. Now take that base recipe as the blueprint. Okay, so I'm going to use my mango vodka. I'm then going to add actually an extra ingredient here. So we're going to be using 5 ingredients in this. And I've got my apricot brandy, apricot liqueur. This is very vibrant in apricot. Absolutely love it. Apricot is one of my favorite kind of liqueurs as well. There's another one coming up in the third cocktail, but I love adding that. We've got the lemon and sugar that I kind of mentioned previously. We're going to be rocking that out. And then the soda water, simple again, really easy. Back into your cocktail shaker. We're going for a 50ml double bubble of your vodka, 25ml of lemon juice. Because of the liqueur coming in a second, I'm just going to do 10ml instead of 15ml of sugar syrup. And then I am going for 15ml, 1/5 of this apricot liqueur. And then once you've strained that into your highball glass, you're just going to top up with your soda water. In this case, this pineapple and almond from Franklin's & Sons. Then to garnish, while I'm waiting for my mango to come from my Turkish friends in Frona, they are doing that. I could go pineapple as well, but I'm going to go, I love these oranges. So I'm just going to go, keep it simple. You know, there's no need to faff around. We're just going for a dried orange. Wow, that is incredible. For me, I actually do prefer that to the first cocktail. And the first cocktail was incredible as well. So the flavours coming from this, the mango does drive through. The apricot does drive through. But the pineapple and almond soda kind of complement that and tie that all back together. But the beautiful thing that lemon juice, if you're new to cocktails and you don't really understand the whole lemon and sugar, why would you do that? Why would you not just use lemonade? Lemon and sugar just gives you this brightness and this freshness. Cocktails so different to using lemonade, and I come across this quite a lot. Bars will, you know, they will just try to use lemonade instead, and it's not the same. It's really not the same. Using lemon juice and sugar just gives you this, it elevates the flavors around it, but just gives you this lovely light freshness with cocktails. This is absolutely exquisite. Tropical Collins, mango and apricot Collins, call it, I don't know, I'm terrible at naming cocktails. That's why I just go down the Collins route. You can name it whatever you want. But using that base formula, I do think some form of Collins and tropical always sells, but some form of Collins deserves to be on your cocktail menu. Now let's look at the price of this. If you're going to make this and add this to your menu, start from the top with the ingredients. £1.45 again, roughly £1.45, £1.50, kind of for a 50ml of your absolute vodkas. I dare say, buying deals, you're going to be paying a lot less than that. I keep saying that, all right? Apricot liqueur, 33p. All right, and again, you might be able to get that slightly cheaper. Your lemon juice and your sugar, you know, that's always going to be variable. I sort of say roughly about 35p, give or take for that. And then I've actually sort of included 66p for that, because that's how much that bottle cost me, 66p. But look, I've only used half the bottle. Obviously you don't want that to be lying around for hours and hours in the back of the bar, but if you can make another one of these cocktails within the next hour and a half and use the rest of that bottle, in busy peak periods, you're going to get through like 5, 6, 7 of these bottles easily in half an hour. You can actually net that down to 33p. So, and then I always roughly include like 25p rounded up for garnish, ice, all that, straws, whatever you've got there. I kind of just over the top bit, but 25p. So all that for a whole bottle there, £2.75. But as I say, if you can get away with just using half a bottle and reuse the other half of the bottle in another cocktail, you can take 33p off that, £2.42. £2.42. Out in the sticks, easily an £8 drink. Top end or sort of city bars, towns, Saffron Walden being close to me as a market town, Cambridge as the city being close to me, £10, £12. You know, you've got £7.50, £9.50 in your tills very, very easily. Now moving on to the third and final cocktail. It's the cocktail I do talk about quite a lot because it is still a big player. It is a very big player. It's the Cosmopolitan. And you could make this up traditionally and it still sells. You can put on a little riff and it helps you stand out and it sells even more. All right, now I'm a big fan of this. The standard riff for me is very, very simple. I just add a couple of dashes of these foamers, and these foamers will come out to play. Let's get both brands out. You know, these foamers will come out to play again in this cocktail. There's a couple of drops of these to just kind of put a nice white frothy head on top of your cocktail. So we are going to be, let's give you a close-up of those if you've not seen them before. I'm sure you've seen them on this brand, on this channel. There's various different brands. I love both of these. Non-alcoholic, alcoholic. So, you know, hen parties for me, I kind of use the non-alcoholic ones if I've got any pregnant hens or anything like that. So we do mocktails. I always have to add that in because people always come back at me and say, why are you doing, why are you giving alcohol to, pregnant hens and all this? It's because we do mocktails, all right? So I always make sure I can work with vegans, and I always make sure that I can work with like non-drinkers, all right? So I always have products that cross over that. So here in a home bar situation, I'd probably go alcohol, but when I'm working, probably out and about with the non-alcoholic stuff there. But the foam is just that. So we're going to use this. But we are going to take this in a slightly different direction. Change of vodka this time. So we are going into the citron, absolute mandarin. If we're just talking about absolute here for a second, any of those sort of flavors, the three big flavors that I would class will work. Absolute citron, actually 4. I've forgotten the other one. Absolute lime they've got now. What's the other one? Absolute, the absolute raspberry you could work with. There was the 4th one. I was going to say mandarin. Sorry, there we go. And also, I've just had a thought off the top of my head. Absolute honey. That'll work as well. So any of those kind of cool flavors of vodka would work. But I'm going absolute citron here. Keep it sort of there. Now, let's go this way next. Obviously, you kind of go for an orange liqueur, triple sec, Cointreau, dry orange curacao. I've done a riff where, I use this instead of my sort of triple sec Cointreau. I've also done a riff on a podcast that I'm part of where I've used this instead, like a yuzu. Yuzu is kind of like a Japanese cross between a grapefruit and an orange. I think basically, what's the word I use? If a tangerine and a lime or a lemon had a baby, you'd kind of get yuzu, that sort of thing. So that's what that is. However, I'm doing a lot of love with this, and it's not a paid thing by any stretch of the imagination. Liquor 43 have just donated those 4 bottles to me because they know I absolutely flipping love the stuff. So I go through this. So I am swapping my orange liqueur for Liquor 43. 43 herbs and spices. The overriding flavour is vanilla. So we know that's going to work. Now, I just wanted to showcase something slightly different for inspiration. Normally it would be cranberry juice. I like to use cranberry and raspberry juice quite a lot. But the other way you can go is pomegranate juice. Every supermarket here in the UK sells pomegranate juice. Every wholesaler that I know of sells pomegranate juice. It is actually... It's still got that sort of tartness to it that cranberry juice has, but it's just got this little bit of extra, not sweetness, but extra kind of body to it. And I do really love pomegranate. So you could argue that this is nothing like the Cosmopolitan, and we've taken it in a completely different direction. However, it is close enough to the Cosmopolitan where you could call the cocktail the something Cosmo. I've just put here in my notes the Liquor 43 Cosmo. I'll be honest, I thought I was going to use cranberry juice, and then I just saw this and I thought, let's just use this instead. But kind of there. I think the whole point is when you're writing cocktail menus, you have got to give a nod to the original cocktail. Whether that's in the title, whether that's in like a subheader underneath what the cocktail's called, so people understand it and identify it. If they can relate this to the actual Cosmopolitan, there's more of a chance they can order it than if you just completely rename it and they haven't got a clue what it is. So 50ml double bubble of your vodka of choice. We're going for 15ml of this lovely stuff, Liquor 43. This time I'm just going for 15ml of lime juice. No sugar in this, but you just want a 50ml double bubble of your pomegranate or cranberry juice. Now, even though we've got pomegranate juice, it's still going to be like cranberry juice. It's not going to froth up at all. It will do when you shake it, but it will die very, very quickly. So I do love the addition of like these, as I say, these foamers, whichever brand you're going for. You just want about 6 to 8 drops in here. Double strain into your martini or coupe glass. And then the cool thing with using those foamers or anything like that, yes, you would layer an orange on there. Again, that would be the classic way to do this. But I just kind of like doing this as well. These are just dehydrated, or sorry, freeze-dried raspberries from our friends at Frona. Just crushed them up, freeze-dried, crushed up perfectly. I'm just going to scatter some raspberries on top like that. How's that? Now, even though you could argue that well, probably 2 ingredients that you wouldn't traditionally use in a Cosmopolitan. You know, the liqueur 43 and the pomegranate juice. If I was blindfolded and asked what cocktail does that remind me of, I would still say the Cosmopolitan. It's this weird kind of red fruit vibe and, you know, your citrus edge to it. Yes, there's a little hint of vanilla coming through there, that liqueur 43. Yes, we've got pomegranate instead of cranberry juice, but it's not a million miles away from that original cocktail. And that's what I love to do with these classic contemporary cocktails. You know, there is no point reinventing the wheel. Maybe just swap one ingredient. Maybe do that exact same thing and use cranberry juice. You have your liqueur 43 instead of your orange curacao and just use cranberry juice instead. That one little riff. Yes, as I said, I saw the pomegranate juice. I wanted to go with that instead, just for pure inspiration. Yes, I've used crushed up raspberries. Yes, I've used foamers in there. But at the end of the day, that is not a million miles away from being a Cosmopolitan. And it tastes really, really good. So to finish up with this, let's talk about the price. And again, it's not actually that expensive. You know, it's actually cheaper than, which one is it? It's cheaper. Technically, it's cheap. It's the cheapest one. But as I say, if you only used half a bottle of that in the previous cocktail, that one becomes cheaper. So this is weighing in at £2.55. Top end, your citron vodka is going to be the same as your mango. So £1.45, £1.50-ish for a double bubble. Your liquor 43, I'm still constantly amazed of how cheap this stuff is. 15 ml of that is going to cost you top end 45p. I dare say it's going to be even cheaper. So, you know, real good. You know, this is where a lot of bars do go wrong. I haven't touched on this there. A lot of bars will go 25 ml. They just had a shot. And actually, you don't need a whole shot. You don't need 25 ml. 15 ml works perfectly in there. All right. So that's where I actually do most of my work for training when it comes to pubs and bars out in the sticks. It's actually on that. People go 2 shots of this, 1 shot of this, 1 shot of that, and that's a cocktail, and it's not. So half shots, 15 mils work a treat. Anyway, 45p. Your lime juice, 16p roughly, you know, for that 10 to 15 mil in there. Your cranberry juice, your pomegranate juice, roughly 50 mil is going to cost you around about sort of 10p. Maybe 15p, but I pretty much guarantee it's going to be roughly about the 10p. Your foamers, 6 to 8 drops, 15p in there. You can see what 8 drops have done. You don't need much more than that. You know, probably could have got away with 6 drops there, to be honest. And then your garnish, you know, as I say, with your ice and the straw and all that, I kind of round it up to 25p, £2.55. £2.55, served up in a martini glass. That's got to be a tenner. Come on. That has to be a tenner, even out in the sticks. Again, £7.50 in your tills. If you are talking, like, if you really don't think you get away with a tenner and you're talking £8, you know, we're still talking sort of £5.50-ish in your tills. That's still a bigger profit. And once you get used to making them, actually is quick as pouring a pint. Especially a pint of Guinness. So then time to hear from you guys. What do you think of these 3 cocktails? Which one takes your fancy the most? Have you got any other riffs on the Lemon Drop, on a Joe Collins, on a Cosmopolitan, which doesn't actually take it too far away from the original cocktail? How would you serve these up in a bar? Now, as I always say, so let me know in the comments below. As I always say, look, if you make any of these drinks and you take a photo, upload into Instagram and tag me at Steve the Barman, and I'll start to share them. But they do actually live on my tagged feed on Instagram as well. So you can kind of have a look at other people's creations there. And as always, if you haven't subscribed to the channel and you want to see more of these videos earlier, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. That really helps me out. And if you want to see another spirit that I'm attacking, dive into that video right there.